Today, I am, going to answer a few questions that I got from my Instagram followers. I was asking them if there were any particular topics that they wanted to hear about, get answers to. So here we are. I got 4 really good questions. So on to the first question, which is around illness. And this is something that is very familiar to me because I just spent almost 2 weeks being sick and just got back into the weight room yesterday. Now, I like to play these things safe because what I have noticed, and of course, each of us needs to get to know our own body and how we react. But what I've noticed that at the first signs of getting sick, I should rest. I mean, I start to take vitamin C and zinc and just taking it easy. And I find that normally the illness doesn't come on quite as strong. So I don't try to like go till the last minute, until I have a fever and I can't lift an arm or whatever. So I try to respond really, really quickly and stop the training. And and I have to say that I think one of the fears that people have about not training is feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to lose all my gains. I'm going to get weaker. I have to get back in. I'm being bad if I'm skipping, these kinds of things. And really, when you're sick, your body needs time to recover, and you should give it that time. And when going back in, so my sort of, I used to honestly Google, like, is it okay to go back to working out when you're still coughing or when you're still sneezing or when your nose is stuffy and all these things. But I think the lockdown, COVID, really changed my point of view on this. Because if you remember, well, at least here, it was like if you would go into a grocery store, for example, nobody spoke to anybody. Everybody was masked up, of course. Nobody spoke to anybody. And if you had coughed or sneezed while you were in that grocery store, I mean, of course, all the music was off. It was complete silence. The whole store would have heard you. And it would have been like this mass ostracism that, hey, how dare you come here and risk all of our lives, right? So that stuck with me really, really strongly. And also the lesson that actually we have been doing a lot of things when we've been sick. I mean, how many of you have been going to the office and you're sneezing, you're blowing your nose all the time, you go through 2 boxes of Kleenex, and what are you doing? You're infecting all your colleagues, in addition to the fact that you're not getting better because you're not resting. You're just going, going, and going. So I've kind of taken a lesson from that. And my personal feeling is that until I feel like I can go somewhere like I was able to go during COVID time, where I'm okay, maybe I'll get one little dry cough or whatever, but not the kind of phlegmy, gross coughs, or not like I need to be blowing my nose. I would not go back to training like that. Plus, I just want to let my body heal. Okay, so that's about like when I would go back. And of course, this is something that each of us needs to decide for ourselves. But I really hope that people don't go to the gym and to the weight room when they're sick because, you're touching the equipment. And no matter how much some people might be, wiping off the equipment, some other people aren't. And some of these germs are spread airborne and this kind of thing. So I would hope that everybody makes sure that they're healthy when they're coming to the gym so you're not infecting the other people at the gym. And then about when you're going back. So think about it. Your body has not only taken days off, like in my case, I think it was about 12 days of not training. And not only that I wasn't training, it was that I wasn't even doing my normal stuff. Yeah, I went out on walks after about day 5, but they were short walks, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, slow outside with the dog. So I know that my body is not, it's not like I can just go back in and And it's as if those 12 days didn't happen, right? So, my recommendation really is, and the way I approach it is to go in gently. So, I go back in doing the same exercises as I've done before, but I cut all my weights. So, I use a lot of machines, for example. So, I would reduce the weight on the weight stack by at least one peg, maybe by two. Because even though yesterday everything felt really easy, right? Because I've my whole body has had a chance to rest. I'm back, and the weights were lighter than I'm used to. I suspect I am going to be fairly sore tomorrow. So I did the lighter weights, and instead of doing my normal rep range, which is generally about 6 to 8 to 10 max, because I am already in the phase that I'm lifting heavier. I'm going into year 4 of weight training consistently. So, yeah, I was doing my sets only up to 10, which which for me, I was not getting close to failure. I mean, I must have been at least 5 reps away from failure, but that wasn't the point. The point was just to get my muscles sort of woken up again, my body woken up again, get my confidence back. Because after being out 12 days, I don't know, I felt like, oh, I haven't done this in a while because I'm used to just doing it so regularly. So that's how I'm approaching that. And now this week, I'll see tomorrow because it always, it's the day after, the day after that you usually get the delayed onset of muscle soreness, the DOMS. And so I'll see how I feel tomorrow. Hopefully, it won't be awful. And I'll be able to go back into the weight room over the weekend. So now it's Wednesday. So I went on Tuesday to do my lower body. Today I'll go in to do my upper body. And then I'll look at Friday, Saturday, Sunday for going for my next 2 sessions. So the fact that you miss a week or 2 weeks or have a lighter week of training in the bigger picture is not going to make a difference. And I do encourage you to think about this as this is like from now until forever, you will be doing some form of weight training. And when you just think of it as a habit that you do every week, the years kind of roll by, the progress happens. I mean, this year has gone by so fast. I can't even believe that I've already been weight training for 3 years. Question number 2 was about lifting straps. Do I use them? And the answer is yes. I use them. I don't use them on very many exercises because, like I said, I have been doing this for a while, so my grip strength has developed. My grip is very strong. I have my teenage son who comes and has me open jars for him, and he's, taller than I am. So, mom is strong. He knows. But the exercise that I always use grips on is Romanian deadlifts, so RDLs, because that is an exercise that's using my glutes, my hamstrings, and those are big muscles. The weights that I'm using on them is more than my body weight. And I want to be able to really focus not on gripping the bar, but on using my glutes. So I don't want my grip to become the limiting factor. Now, that said, I don't use the grips on every one of my sets of RDLs. I generally start with the RDLs. I mean, unless all of the racks are taken, I will start with RDLs. So I do my warm ups. My warm up is that I will do 10 to 15 reps with just the bar. Then I put on another 10 kilos on each side and then do 4, 5, 6 reps, a little bit depending on how my body feels. So this is my warm up. And then add a little bit more weight and a little bit more weight. So I end up doing 2 or 3 warm up sets because it's my first exercise of the day. That is my warm up. And for those, I just have bare hands. Well, I have my weight training gloves, but I don't use straps. And then when I go to my working weight, then I do use the straps. So it's not all the time. However, Earlier in my life of weight training, I did use the straps more. And that is because what happened was that the rest of my body, like my back muscles, got stronger faster than my grip strength did. And I ended up having an issue with elbow pain. I started to get some elbow tendonitis because my grip strength was not keeping up with the strength of my back. So I was rowing heavy weights, I was pulling down heavy weights, and my grip was giving out. Or, I mean, it wasn't like I slipped and let go, but like my grip was not strong enough for that to be super comfortable for me. And so I was getting this elbow issue, and I went to see a physical therapist, and they recommended that, hey, on your heavy sets, use the grips. And so that's what I did. And in a very similar way to what I just described with the RDLs, what I did was in my warm up sets, I wouldn't use the grips, but then on my working sets, I would use the grips. And another thing that that actually helped me with, particularly on a horizontal row, because when you're doing a horizontal row, so where your arms are in front of you and then you're pulling them back, you often want to pull back further than you actually can. And you start to do like a wrist kink where you'll like bend your wrists in. And that can cause also issues with your forearms and your elbows. So when I used the straps, it really taught me to think of everything from my elbow forward, to the tips of my fingers, as just something that's holding on to the equipment, and I didn't use any kind of, well, of course I had to hold on with my grip, but the point was that it was just like a way of holding on to the equipment, and then I really was able to focus on driving my elbows back behind me, and squeezing my shoulder blades and this kind of thing. So for that, grips was good. And I do think that everybody will need grips. If you are doing RDLs consistently for a year and you're not using grips yet, then I would say you need to look at, are you pushing yourself hard enough? Because you should get to the point where it is going to be too heavy for you to do RDLs without the grips. The grips that I use, by the way, are called Versa grips, and I will put a link in the show notes so you can take a look at them. And also, I'll put a video on how I use them so that you can check out how I use them. You can use them with dumbbells or barbells or machines, any one of them, but they take a little bit of getting used to. All right, and so now question number 3. How can you make weight training sessions less boring? Now, here's one where I would love to hear more details about what your weight training session is actually looking like. Because the solution there may be a lot of solutions. So let me talk a little bit about this. I can understand sometimes it does get boring. And I think that you do also go through kind of phases where you're really into it. And then you're kind of like, oh, I'm just coming here because I need to do this and I want to do this and I don't want to lose my muscles. I don't want my body to decline. And it is more boring. And then you're thinking, okay, so how can I just make this happen faster? Right? So one of the things that I've noticed when I have seen programs that my clients have done with other people and then come to my program, or where I see some free programs online, is a lot of them have a ton of different exercises in them, like 10 different exercises in one workout. And then you have 4 sets of each of them. And it's an insane amount of volume. Or people who are spending 2 hours getting through their session and they're not even taking breaks. Okay. So the way that I program is 6 exercises in a session. And really, 4 of them are the main exercises for that session. And then there will be 2 that are more accessory exercises, or they're targeting more specifically a particular muscle group. So one way to make the training session less boring is to have it be just simpler, shorter. So you don't have this feeling like, oh my God, I've done two of my exercises. I've got eight more to go. Because that can, I mean, mental fatigue is a thing, and it actually does affect how well you can train. If you're starting to feel like I'm getting tired, I'm getting bored, this is annoying, all those kinds of things. So rather shorten it. So one is how many exercises you have in your particular session. And I would recommend between 4 and 6. Then the other thing is how many sets you're doing of each exercise. Each set that you do is a little bit less stimulating than the previous set. So if you were to go in with your 6 exercise program and you do one set of each, that would be maximizing your bang for your minute. Okay. And then if you do a second set, great. It's a little bit less effective than the first set, but it is still very effective. Third set is a little bit less effective. But if you go to 4, 5, 6, all that, it's just if you really enjoy spending time in the weight room, then do it. But I'm all about optimizing my time. Okay, so we've thought now about the length of your program, so how many exercises you have to do. So 4 to 6 is great. And how many sets of each? So 3 is plenty. Third thing is a little bit of an obvious way of doing it, but at least for me, music really helps keep it entertaining. So during my breaks, during the rest between sets, I kind of pace around. I don't look at my phone very much unless I just took a video. Some people like to listen to podcasts, but to me, it's a bit too distracting. I want to be able to really focus on my session. But yeah, so music is something that could help there. One way to save time also, which will make the workout maybe more interesting because you don't have so much of this rest period, is doing supersets. Now, I would recommend doing the supersets with two muscles that are antagonist muscles. In other words, that do the opposite motion in your body. So, for example, your bicep and your tricep. When your bicep's working, your tricep is relaxing. When your tricep is working, your bicep is relaxing. So you can get through the session faster if you pair up your bicep and your tricep exercises. Do one set of biceps, a set of triceps, then take your 1 to 2 minute break. Then again, set of biceps, set of triceps, and then your break. Same thing, you can do leg extensions and leg curls, right? Quads and hamstrings. Superset them. If I'm doing inner thighs and outer thighs, so adductors and abductors, I will superset them. For upper body, some supersetting that's good is to do horizontal push, so like chest presses, supersetting with horizontal pulls, so rows, or pull downs, supersetting with anything where you're pushing up, so shoulder presses. So these will get you through your workout faster. Another thing that people have said has made their training more interesting is when they have finally started tracking. And the reason for that is that then you see what you did last time, you're seeing the progress. It just makes it more interesting. It's pretty boring, actually, to just go into the weight room and be like, okay, I'll do a little bit of chest press machine. Let me try this weight. Oh, that felt pretty light. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. And then just doing like the 12. But when you start to do a progressive program where you're progressively overloading, where you're challenging yourself a little bit more and a little bit more over time, it becomes more interesting. It's like, if you've ever done running, for me at least, and I think for a lot of people, you time how far you run, right? I mean, I guess there probably are people who don't, but I always looked at my watch like, oh yeah, I did a 12-minute run today. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to do a 13-minute run or yeah, I did a 30-minute run and look how far I got in my 30 minutes. When you see the progress and you see the change, you see how much stronger you're getting, that can be really very motivating, that makes it less boring to be doing that thing that is the same thing over and over again. And then the final question I got asked is, am I on hormone replacement therapy? And the answer is yes, I am. I am. I really went through perimenopause in the dark and early. Nobody had talked to me about this. My mother also, by the way, went through perimenopause or went through menopause early and never bothered to tell me. But I had so many symptoms, including a very severe depression, which didn't lift despite therapy and antidepressants. After a year, I was in worse shape than I was before. And that's when I read somewhere about the 13 most common symptoms of menopause. And I was like, I have every single one of these. I mean, the hair loss, inability to sleep. I had such brain fog. I just started a new job. I was building a marketing operations team for this company, and I had to hire the team and figure out the processes and everything. I have so many notebooks full of notes from that time because I could not remember anything. I mean, I did a great job at that job. I'm like patting myself on the back, but it required me writing everything down because I was just not remembering things the same way as I used to. So, I mean, I had so many symptoms. So when I read that list and I was like, okay, here I am, Miss Menopause. I went on hormone replacement therapy and the fog started lifting. My mood started to improve and all these. So I do credit it as giving me my life back. So I'm on a estrogen progesterone patch and have been on it. And it started like maybe I was 47, something like that. And it wasn't like I was cured overnight, but finally my depression started to lift and I started to see the sky was blue. You know, my hair wasn't falling out, didn't need to order that wig after all. So all kinds of things happened, and I'm not letting go of that. No way, Jose. And then when I started studying all this stuff I've studied around menopause and fitness and what happens with our bodies and how much estrogen loss affects our bodies, how much our bodies start to decline when estrogen walks out the door, that even though it's called hormone replacement therapy, it's not like reversing that, right? We don't go back to what we were before menopause, but any little bit helps. And it's also why I'm so religious about the weight training because it, in addition to the hormone replacement therapy, does help. And hormone replacement therapy helps with maintaining your bones and your muscles and building more muscles. No, it is not steroids. It's not like you can just start hormone replacement therapy and things happen. No, that's not how it goes. But it supports that. So yes, I am absolutely on it and a huge advocate. But I know this is a very individual decision for each person to make on their own. I am not a doctor. I am not going to give you medical advice, but I will tell you that that was my experience. And I know there are a lot of women who are so grateful that they're on hormone replacement therapy. And then I also know some people who get migraines from it, so you do need to test it out. And I will say this, I was lucky in that the first combination that I use Everel Conti. That one works really well for me. I feel good. But when at one point there was actually like a global lack of that brand, and they couldn't get it here in the whole of Finland. And so I had to try other combinations, and there are basically not so many combinations that the gynecologists prescribe, but I tried two other combinations, and holy cow, I realized how much hormones have an effect on how we feel when I tried those, and they didn't make me feel like me. Um, On one of them, this is a really interesting one, is that I it was wonderful in the sense that my libido just shot through the roof. Between the sheets was amazing. But I was also crying all the time. You know how you are during pregnancy, where you see a cute commercial and you're like, "Wah!" That was me. So it wasn't maybe the best option for me. So I tried another one, and that also wasn't as good as what I have now. So as soon as I could get back on my tried and tested good formula, I got back on it. So it's worth testing around. If the first one that you try doesn't really agree with you, try out another one. Okay. And it can take a little while to take effect. It's not like you start it today and tomorrow you're like, da-da. No, they say to give it like 3 months or something. So, yeah.